Hey, Sharon.
Rick, I want to share a case study. Before I do that, I cut you off in the last one, and you had something important to say.
Oh, yes. I was just saying, what we were talking about, how, whenever there's a blip in the real estate market, someone wins.
Yes.
That doesn't necessarily mean someone loses.
Mhm.
It's not necessarily a zero-sum game. If you're buying your house to live in it and or as a long-term investment, you're going to in the long term, you're going to win. Like, yes, you might lose money in the short term. Like if you decide, 6 months down the road that your investment's gone down and you're going to sell, well,
Mhm.
sure, you're crystallizing your loss. But in the real estate market, it's, unless you're just flipping houses, you're going to probably win in the long term. So,
What
so
about
that,
the
that's what I was
seller?
going to say.
What about the seller? Is the seller winning?
Well, I mean, it's they might have done better if they had waited longer or if they had sold earlier. But
Right.
at the end of the day, it really depends on what did they buy for, right?
And that's exactly it. And that's exactly where I want to bring you with that. Is
Sorry,
yes.
and one other thing, it's like, well, let's say they hadn't bought. Uh, you have to factor in they still would have been incurring costs because they have to pay rent no matter if they're not owning. So it's
Yep.
like you factor that in. It's pretty rare that you lose, unless of course ending up in power of sale or something like that, and you let the house
And
go.
even power sale today doesn't have to happen. If you talk to you can get on the market, you can get an offer for it. If you don't like the offer because you've inflated your value, you have another problem. But we can really stop foreclosure in many cases if people talk to us,
Yeah,
even before that.
it's
But
it's
even
pretty rare that things go power of sale. You have to have really been unreasonable or something like that. Can't sell
yeah,
it.
this is true. This is true, and we do meet those too. But for the seller, they are also usually having to buy somewhere, so they can also buy at a lower rate. They are selling now for less than they bought it, unless they just bought it a year ago. Then that's a different story again. That's one of the ones, just like we talked about in the '80s. That's the only ones that really lost at that time frame,
Yeah,
and they didn't even lose
out
then
of
if
the
they turn around
market.
and reinvested in the market.
100%. So,
So they did win. So, I'm actually going to leave this video here because,
okay.
yes, everybody is winning. Doesn't mean someone has to lose. It is a winner's market still. You're just taking a different criteria than 6 months ago. Well, guess what? 6 months from now, we'll be taking different criteria again, and there's still going to be winners. You just got to know how to walk through it. That's what I'm here for. That's what Rick is here for. We're going to come right back, and we are going to introduce to you some of the skill set that he has.
I'm
Okay,
just
so
going to say, like, who have you ever talked to that said, "Oh, I wish I hadn't bought my home. I wish I had just rented my whole life." I've never heard anyone, talking to an older person that has come back and said that. So,
not yet. And I deal with a lot of clients every single month, and I have yet to hear that.
there you go. So, all right. Well, thanks, Sharon.
Thanks, Rick.